Hey guys, and welcome to my final part of the making a map tutorial. For this episode, we're going to actually take the map we've made and turn it into a globe. So, to start with, I textured the map, uh, which will be coming up in a few minutes. What I'm doing here is just kind of smoothing out the continents a little bit and defining the edges of the map. Because eventually I'm going to actually color in the territories and stuff for this particular game world. So but what I'm doing now actually is I decided to start building some mountain ranges and terrain into the map. So as you can see, I'm actually adding mountain ranges in a similar fashion as I did in my smaller world map, which is right there. So I'm just adding some extra lakes, extra terrain. Yeah, it's very similar to what I did previously. This is recorded. Well, it's really similar to what I did previously. It's just that it it's just on a larger scale. So you just have to consider exactly where maps would, where mountains would naturally be in a world, and then put them in. So that's probably going to take a few minutes, and then after that, I decided I was going to texture the map in actual earth tones to make it look like a proper topographical map. So what I'm actually going to do is I downloaded a bunch of textures off the internet, and I'm going to add, I'm going to put it all together. So how I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to unwrap the textures directly onto the map, and then try to smooth it out as best I can. So as you can see, I'm just adding the textures that I wanted for the map. So what I'm now going to do is you can kind of see how I'm choosing areas to add detail to. So you can already see that you've got the nice kind of pattern to it. And then I'm probably going to use a different texture for the mountainous areas, which will be probably a more gray and plains-like instead of kind of wooded and with rivers. So see, as you can see there, I've actually added some gray texture. I'm not sure if I actually kept that in the end, because I didn't particularly like how it was going. So I'm just going to add some darker, more plains textures, as you can see. And then you can see how it's really blocky. And that's because it's molding directly to the squares that make up the map. So what I eventually did was I smoothed that out and made the areas that weren't meshing together very well. So I'm just doing some work there, adding some extra detail, kind of figuring out what this whole thing looks like. There I decided to change it to the more plains-like. And that might be a little bit more. And that's going to be a desert, so I'm actually going to add on. I tried this desert texture, and I didn't like that, so I actually found a different one, and I swapped it. There we go. That's a much nicer desert texture. I'm sure if you just look up desert terrain texture on the internet, you'll find it. So I'm going to add a bit of a darker area on that one because it's a more arid area of the map. As you can see there, I'm actually smoothing out the corners of the map to make it look more natural. And how I did that was I actually made it show my subsurface modifier. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. So I've actually made the subsurface modifier active, whereas before it was inactive. And why I did that was so I could more easily tell the curves. So there you go, there's that continent texture, and I'm just going to work on that. Not much to do on that particular one, and I think I'm going to leave it more or less as it is. Or maybe add a few extra, maybe a bit of desert patches and stuff, but not too much. Have a bit of a darker area there. Oh, apparently decided to change this up a bit as well. Have that part of the map be a little bit different. That's all going to be very kind of nice. So I'm just making some adjustments. I actually added a more river-like area around that big inland sea you can see there. Because I thought that it might actually, that's the way it might turn out, because usually around large bodies of water you see a little bit more greenery. So I'm just kind of deciding what to do with that. I actually decided to add a tundra area for the top. I originally liked that texture, changed my mind, decided I didn't like it, and then changed my mind back when I decided I actually liked the original better. So what I'm actually doing to select all that is I'm just hitting C, which allows me to select a wide group of faces, and that lets me kind of, I'm not being too careful about exactly what I'm selecting or where, just because I don't necessarily need to be that selective. It can be kind of random. It's not like a real world map is perfectly designed or anything. There we go. Tried a couple of different things to texture this. Decided I didn't like some of it. I'm sure I'll actually do more detailed texturing later, but for now I just need something that makes this island stand out. So what I ended up doing was just adding that texture to the whole island. It's not like you can really see it or anything, so it's not a huge deal. There we go. So I more or less decided just to make it one big texture. Was the easiest way I found to do this. There we go. Just making it a little smoother, just so it looks more natural. And I think I'll change the tundra texture again. There we go. Yeah. It looks a little bit odd right now, but I can assure you that it will look fine once I do the final part. I'm just going to add a sea texture to that so it looks kind of, there we go. Yeah, that's the one I decided on. I'll explain how that one actually doesn't work in the end. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna render this. And why I'm rendering it is so I have a picture that I can put on a sphere. And I'll explain how I did that. So I was having a bit of a hard time rendering, just figuring it out here. Probably skip ahead. Okay, so what I did was I rendered that into a PNG with the lighting and shit. Like, obviously, if you know how to render, you know how to render. So now I'm going to add a sphere in, and that's going to act as our globe. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to UV unwrap that image directly onto this globe. So I'm probably going to slow this down a bit. So what I did here is I split it into, I split it into two maps, or I split it into two screens, added, and changed it to the UV imaging editor on one side. And then you've got the UV image editor on this side, and on this side you've just got your standard orthographic view. So I actually put it on top orthographic. And I put it on front perspective orthographic to start with. And then what I actually did was I went UV unwrap, smart UV, I just went unwrap, or no, I went smart UV project, and as you can see on this side, you've got the unwrapped sphere over the map. So what that's going to do for me is once I get it lined up, it's actually going to show this wrapped around the sphere. So I'm going to widen that out, expand it so it covers the whole map like that. And boom, magic happens. Now, as you can see, we've got the whole globe with the map wrapped around it. And this is, and I'm going to actually do a little bit of editing. I didn't like how much sea was in it. So I'm just trying to even that out. There we go. And as you can see, you've got this nice kind of polar edge, which is right near the North Pole, which is excellent. You've got a bit of a wider sea around this side, which is fine because this is a very compact world. It's probably a bit smaller than Earth. And I actually am going to need to find a new sea texture. I'm going to do that again because I'm just going to use flat blue this time because see, this side and this side have come together in the center and it's created this strange weird colored line. So we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a regular blue instead, just a flat blue. So that is making a world in a nutshell. So I've gone from creating a small island just to show how it works, to going to a full-size world map, to texturing that world map and putting it on a globe. If you want a more in-depth tutorial, I will link the tutorial I used in the video in the video description. So that's about it from me. I'm not sure what you guys want me to do next, considering that this 3-part series is over. If anybody actually is watching these, please put what you would like to see in the comments, and maybe I'll actually take a look at doing that. These kind of unscripted videos, I'm just kind of winging this. So do you want me to make more scripted videos, more precise tutorials? These are kind of more show and tell sessions than anything. I'm just showing the stuff I've done and maybe offering a few hints on how to do it. So I was wondering maybe that if you guys would like more scripted tutorials where I'd actually put some effort into watching what I say and figuring out how to actually make a real tutorial. Let me know down in the comments below. Feel free to leave a like, and if you are so inclined, to subscribe. Eventually we'll be moving into more tutorials, anime reviews, and game reviews. Eventually, we'll see. Okay, that is all. Thank you very much.